Yeah. Okay. Fine. Very good. Okay. Good morning. We are starting Kuf Chaf Daled. In Hilchos Yanesach. Tinok. The first part of the simon is about who can create the Yanesach. Tinok Ovik V'Chavim, a child. Baby, a child, baby can touch anything. She'enu mazkir avodas koychavim, who doesn't mention the name of any avodah zara, misham sheha. Eina oiser yaim b'mago. He doesn't aser wine b'mago. Ella v'shtia. He only doesn't aser b'hana. He only asers the b'shtia again. So Maga, even though he doesn't say. Any Maga goy asers, he just doesn't aser b'hana. Beis ger toishav dahainu shekibel of sheva mitzvahs. So ger toishav, who is v'kabel alav sheva mitzvahs, v'chein ger shema v'lo taval magan oiser b'shtia. Even a ger that was ma v'lo taval, the Maga asers b'shtia. So I remember I was in high school. One of my rebbeim said that he was friends with the head of the Noachai movement, whatever. And so he said he asked him. He's like, well, all this guy's kids became gerim, but he didn't. So he asked him, why don't you just become a ger? He said, well, someone has to lead the goyim. I don't know, whatever. I don't know if in the end he did become a ger or not. Because, the point is, if you have something, just take it. But I don't know. Also, Gershom Avalo Tovel, I don't know. I have no idea if this apply. If this gonna. I have no idea whether this would apply also by someone who becomes a ger for not the right reasons. Because these people are semi gerim. I don't know. It's a little bit unclear, or suffix ger. Sometimes if there's a machlokes, things like that. So I'm not sure if that's what. Or Garvel Tovel just means they're mamish not a ger. It could be that else. I don't know. And Al Kopanim Oisa B'Shtia Hagav V'Chol Zman Shelo Tovel Karoi Mikri Lo Tovel. Anytime he wasn't tovel properly, then that's called a suffix. That's called lo tvila. It's a suffix tvila. You mamid him on his cheskas iser or cheskas goy, and therefore it's kili wasn't tovel. Yesh mekili afil b'maga ger toishav. Some say b'maga ger toishav is okay. Of a yain shel vaday aser again, but his wine is also because of chasnus, because you don't want your kids marrying even a ger toishav.
So what's the kula?
The kula is by no. The kula is by ger toshav that Maga, because it's just like the cotton before. Doesn't mask your shame of Zara. Or just like Yishmael, we're going to see by Muslims Yishmaelim also the same idea. If they're not masker shem avodah zara, then we're not choritz, because Maga is a gzeira to actual menasech, or it's a suffix menasech, however you want to understand it.
So what's the pshat about yain?
If you go to his house, the wine that he makes is stam yeno. That's not Maga. Again, there's three levels. There's Yain Nesech, Yain Shalahem, Stam Yainam, and then Maga. Right. So then that's definitely ulcer. Right, but of course, but that's also if it's also mutter bahana, as long as you know he didn't, or if he sells it to you, upon him. If he touches it, then of course that would that's something else. The Bach says that if you know he didn't touch it, yain shows is varei aser, but akopanim it doesn't make a difference. So everything's mutter bahana. All right, whatever. Akopanim, and it's not so nogea v'ger toshav. Gimel. Halokeach avadim me'avi kachavim. Someone who buys avadim from a goy umalu v'tavlo, and then they do mila and tvila miyad ein menaske. In that second, they didn't do yain nesech yain shenagu bo muter b'shti avavi shadayin lo nagu b'dasei Yisrael. He gets out of the the Mal Tavol gets out of the mikvah, pops the champagne, celebrate, whatever. Go Seder. Below Pasku Shemus Avos Kachavim Pihem. And even if they still, they still maskir the shame of Avodah. Right? The chiddush over here is that by an Evid, it's a bit bal korcho, right?
In other words, if a Jew would be masked in the name of Shem of Zara, you would ask it.
Oh, if he just stopped maskir, I'm not sure. That I'm not sure about. I wonder because you hear people, it was up in America. Unfortunately, I've heard from people, use the, whatever maskir or ish, or at least half the name, they don't realize what they're doing. So I don't. Depends on what. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. So I don't know. But Al Kapanim, even the Kaddish over here, even though it was Baal Korcho, since he was Malva Tovel, it's okay. Um, and the Taz mentions about the Karaim, which is not Nagia again. It's not Nagia nowadays. There was the Karaim, back then. Even though there are some, I've heard of there are some Karaim, or people call themselves Karaim floating around. But as far as I know, the last community was lived in like the Crimea and was wiped out during the Nazis. Yeah, I know, but I don't think it's a real. The Corona, not the real. They call themselves that, but I don't think it's the real deal. The last actual Corona, like the ones that were descended from like the times of the Rambam or whatever. As far as I know, they were white. The Nazis killed them in the Crimea. So I don't know, but I don't think the ones over here are the real deal. But still, I think of in this case, it might still have the same din. The Karaim, so the Rashal, at his time, he said the Karaim were like Yer Toshav, but the place can say that over time, since then they went completely like completely off. So that they were just like any other, whatever the Maga Mudaser. Dalid. Bnei Shifchos of those Kochavim Shenodu B'Shus Yisrael. Let's say you had Shifchos who weren't Malva Toval or whatever, and they were Noled B'Shus Yisrael Malu, and then they had Mila V'Dayin Lo Tovlu, but they didn't Toivel HaGedolim Oisrim Hayayin. The Gedolim are also the Yayin B'Shtia B'Maga. Now Maga Ktanim, but these Avadim Ktanim. Mutter filu b'shtia again. The mutter b'shtia kivin shemalo v'shadayin lo tavlu. Which there is a bit of a machlokes, but we paskin the Meshulchan paskins that you need mal v'tavlu. Hey im hashivcha tavlu l'shem avdus. If there is a shivcha who's tavlu l'shem avdus, yishvi she'omer she'ein b'na oisel yain nesech. Some say that her son does not make yain nesech. Afilu avar rabba v'lo malo, so ben gadol ben katan. So the what's it called? The adon by an eved is chayiv to be mal. Mal the Eved. It's not, maybe he'd think, well, you know what, if I go ahead and out mal him, he's a goy, he can, then he doesn't have to keep Shabbos, or whatever. He's over in Isser. He's chayiv to go ahead and to do Mila, and he is, he's chayiv in all these things as well. It doesn't make a difference. There's no yichus. It doesn't make a difference. There's no yichus by a shivcha. Even if the father was a goy, father doesn't make it. There's no yichus b'chal by avadim, so it doesn't make a difference. Again, the only time this would be nagea nowadays is if it would happen is the case of someone's trying to be machshir. My mom's just trying to machshir his kids, so then he marries a shivcha, and so the eitzah is to be a guy find a woman who wants to become a gioris, and the guy here is a shivcha, and then the moms can marry her, and the kids would be avadim and meshachar them. So in that case, this is the only time you would have.
Is it shot for her or no?
He doesn't have to meshachar her if he doesn't want to. That's up to him.
With the Bashivcha.
He's much of a shivcha. Yeah. So so I don't know if he's meshachar, but he's meshachar the kids. Vav. Ovid kochavim she'ena ovid elilim, yeno aser. Any guy who's ovid, who's not ovid elilim, the girsa the shach brings kegon yishmeelim. For some reason the Mechaber leaves it out. The question the shach says it's not because it censors. He says it may because he holds it's lav dafka, but the girsa in the Rambam is kegon yishmeelim. And that because Muslims do not, they are over Hakadosh Baruch Hu, just their own derech. Achopana yeno also b'shtia umoter b'hana. Remember, their wine is mutter b'hana. Maga and biyayin. So therefore, if you wanted to, get Arab wine, you would be allowed to do schayr with it and sell it, all these things. However, it's still also to drink their wine. Zion, yesh mishaomer shekol makom she'amar b'yayin shalanu shehu muter b'hana. Anytime we say that our wine is muter b'hana, but also b'shtia, if tzad negia shenaga ba'ovid kachavim k'shahai ovid kachavim ovid elilim. That's because of the possibility. He's the gear because he's over the zara. If it's just because of chasnus, because you don't want to, intermingle with them, but it's a case where they touched it, which we do say, or like we'll see the cave, we put like pouring wine, things like that. In a case where, pouring wine, we'll get to it. In a case where it's touched shelo b'kavana, so an Arab worker would accidentally, touch your wine without realizing it. It's muter b'shtia, because the only time for choshesh is that maybe it's a dafka, he touched it on purpose, but if he fell, the cases he fell into the vat of wine, I don't know, whatever. So, then that's then we're not choshesh, and it's even muter b'shtia.
So it could not be that the Christian natives.
Right. Now, we'll get to later on in Hilchos Avodah Zarah. It actually gets into whether Christianity is Vada Avodah Zarah. The Rambam holds that Catholicism is definitely Avodah Zarah. The question is, and Orthodox also, but the question is the Eastern Orthodox stuff. But Protestantism is a little bit different. The question is it the same? They have the same. I tried looking. I have no idea. Whether I don't think anyone wants to talk about these things. Whether they have the same din as Yishmaelim or not, I don't know, because they don't. It's not. But it's the shituf. It's whatever. It's complicated. I know we'll have to get into that at a later point. Ches Meshoich or Bashuch Barlasoi. Someone. Also included in this would be someone who's an atheist. Who's an atheist. He's not Ovid Elili because he's not Menasech. I think he's dumb. Like he's not Menasech. So if he touches wine accidentally, then he Akopanim, even if he's not Pikaris, but he wouldn't. He would unless he Maga on purpose. I don't know by a mummer, we'll see. By mummer, I'm not sure about touching accidentally, but someone who's even if you want to say that Darwinism is also a religion, but I don't think it's over to Azar, so whatever. Someone who's a mummer who was just meishich barlasa, so he can mingle among the goyim. He doesn't make yain nesech because he's a mummer la'arelos for zamar l'kol Torah. Mummer afapishu mol Usually the mummer in these cases, often the girsa changes to meshumad. We're talking about mummer called Torkula or mummer lahachis. But obviously, Moshe Paralos is like a mummer lateyavon. Uh, so then he does make yain nesach mago. The neman lomar sheshav b'tshuva. However, he is neman to say he was shav b'tshuva. Now the poskim say that doesn't make any sense. How is he neman? So they say he's only neman if it's like a pesha also pesha hitter. I mean, they say, listen, I wasn't meshuba, I wasn't mumar, whatever, but I've done tshuva. So it's only where it's like a pesha also pesha hitter. So then that would be okay. But stam the guy's a mumar. You can't. He's not neman to say, well, I did tshuva, unless it's clear simanim. The guy the day like at the case before, something, there's different simanim. The guy did tshuva, and he went, whatever, b'chulei. So then, piharas bezdin, then then it would be, the Rav says, he vouches for him, so then that would be okay.
But you said about a Jewish atheist.
Jewish is different. And the Jewish atheist is because they're goyzer kagoy. Maga. So I don't know about if they touch not on purpose. I'll have to see. I don't know about that. That's what I'm not sure about. If they touch on purpose, it's definitely also. Yeah, but if they touch it by accident, that's the case in Zion. I'm not sure about that. That's why I wasn't sure. Tes hanusim. Right, the Maranos afilu hatoyim shebehem enam yicholim lizar maga avikachavim. Even the best, because they had to intermingle with the goyim, and so it was impossible. Kivan shehem chashudin alav enam ne'amanim al shalahem. They can't say again like we had the cases in Kufya Test. It's something they're chashud on. They have the ne'amanis on it. Afilu v'shvua of ne'amanim al shalacherim, but they're ne'aman on other, Echad be Surim, the Ne'eman on to say by other people's wine. Hagav ain't oisim yain b'magon, but they don't also yain b'magon. But dafka oisim shadorim adayim enovi kachavim. Dafka those who are still living amongst the goyim v'oisim averos v'farhesia and pleoinis. Rak b'tzina and these harim, just they light candles in secret. These types of things. Ve'efshar lahem livroach al nafsham. And they had a way to go ahead and to escape. They had a chance to go with Gerish Svarad or things like that, but they didn't want to lose their money. But if they're oivrim also b'tzina, they don't keep stuff. Alaveros avavisha also b'tchila ba'oines. So then they have a din of. And they have a dinner. This is a rivash, and Simindal comes up many places throughout the Shulchan Aruch about the Anusim. He was talking about Shaito. This is before Gerish Svara that he had to deal with Shiles of Maranos. So he says that if even if it's Tchilas of Ba'onis, they don't say, well, what are you supposed to do? Now, I don't know how to, that's the onus of Misa. I don't know, of Shmad. So then they don't. If they stop keeping anything, then they'll keep going. Maga ovi kachavim le'asor behana. Maga ovi which also was not tzarich shloisha tnaim. Echad she'iskavin liga. He had kavana to touch the wine. La'afuke tinok shenaga la bar kavana. Who a tinok shenaga does not. He's not a bar kavana. I don't know if it changes when I don't know if there's a din of bar mitzvah by goyim. I don't know at what point he changes from tinok to gadol and then he gets kavana. It's curious. I don't know. I assume it means that he old enough to have shtei saris. Honestly, I don't know the shir. V'chein la'afuke nafal labor v'ala meis. So Fuke also someone who falls into the board and he drowned. Sheni shiyada shuyayin. He has to know that it's actually wine. Shlishi shloyehei oisik b'davar acher. It can't be that he's focusing on something else. He's touching the wine on purpose, or he knows it's wine and he's touching the wine. Not that he's it's like it's asik. Right.
And it comes up alive out of the door?
No, me. It comes up alive. The Gemara says, we'll get to it. That could be he's menasech it as he comes up because he got saved. But if you know the guy's an atheist, but they say there's no atheist in the foxhole. So often they say no, whatever. But when it comes down to it, they whatever. Yud Aleph Ketzad Hu Negia She'oisa Ba'ovi Kochavim Hayayim Bahanash Yago Biyado Ubarago. He touches with his hand or with his foot. Yisharim Naga Barago Eno Isa Bahana. Dein Derech Nisuch B'chak. You don't have to. It's only also b'shtia, not the chash of nesech. Oh, b'davar acher shebiyado. He touches it with a stick, some sort of whatever. We'll get to the koicha. Koicha is we'll get to the and he has to shake the wine. I feel b'fiv. Even if he shook it with his mouth, kagoyin sheshasa mimenu. He was drinking from it with a straw or something. Shematzat menek. He drinks it with a straw. Either he drank from it or he didn't pick it up. He just sipped it, or he used a straw. B'chavis or lepiv. Kol yain aser. It answers the whole wine, but no. If it has holes and things, yeshbo yaim, and there's wine in this type of kli. Yachal Yisrael limtzos mechotim zeh. He can drink from this spout, from this hole. They can drink. They can share a drink biyachad. Very nice to sit together and share. A milkshake together or grape shake, whatever you want to say. Very nice. As long as Yisrael stops before the goy, then it's considered, I guess, like Zev Zagorin or something. The shaking could be from him, but if the goy stops, and then we say that then we say that it's a problem. V'im naga b'resicha shal yayin, when the wine's fermenting and it's bubbling, if he touches the bubbles, havi kinogea b'yayin atzva, it's nachshav as if you touched the actual wine, and therefore Maga in that case will become asur.